Hey, what's going on, you guys? I'm about 10-ish days out from my next meet. The build series is almost over. And yeah, I'm excited. I think it's gonna be fun. Gonna get to see all my buddies. Gonna get to compete against some really strong people. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be awesome. Today, this video, what I wanted to talk about is dealing with failure. And when I was first, trying to think about what to say, what to talk about, I had this idea that I could give a breakdown, step by step, how to deal with failure and, maybe use an example that was outside of my life. But I realized it's probably just easier for me to tell my own story, right? So I considered, some of the different failures I've had in my life and how I dealt with them. And one of the failures that I've experienced in my life that is a little bit more predominant, or like one of the bigger failures recently, has been when I tried to get into the athletic training program at Florida State University. I applied to get in my sophomore year, and I was turned down. And when that happened, obviously, I felt, seriously disappointed. I thought, I'd done everything right. I had shown that I was very interested. I had good test scores. I had letters of recommendation. I thought, well, I did everything right, and yet I still didn't get in. And my first, my gut reaction was to despair, to wallow in self-pity. But I took a step back. I analyzed the situation, and I thought to myself, what could I have done better? Obviously, nobody's perfect. I couldn't have done everything, perfectly. And I saw, like where I maybe could have improved, different things that I could have done better. But more importantly, what I did is I reached out to the program director and I asked, hey, in the future, what could I do better? How could I improve? So that if I were to apply at a later date, like what could I do that would improve my chances of success in the future? And I got a response, and I sat on the response, and ultimately I was unsatisfied with the response, and I still had to figure out how to move forward. What was my next step? My plan was to have my major be athletic training, and now it was looking like I was either going to have to wait until the next year to apply again, which would mean that I'd be in school for 5 years instead of 4, or I could pivot, I could change directions. And so I thought about it. I considered, my options: wait a year, apply my junior year, graduate in 5 years rather than 4, switch my majors, go into exercise physiology maybe, or another related major, or just give up. I was already a certified personal trainer. I was when I was working, I was making decent money, so I considered that as an option. So I had those 3 options, right? What I ended up deciding was I could still be in the field. I could still be an athletic trainer if I wanted. You don't need to have an undergraduate degree in athletic training to be an athletic trainer. You need to have a master's, right? So I decided I'm going to get the prerequisites done for a master's in athletic training, and I'm going to switch my major. I also decided that since I had failed to get into the program that had actually presented me an opportunity. Since I wasn't in that program, I could actually graduate early if I wanted to. Whereas if I had been accepted into the athletic training program, I would have been forced to graduate in 4 years. So this meant, there was a little bit of a benefit to that. I could graduate early. My girlfriend and I could move back home, ahead of schedule. I was like, you know what, this is great. I talked to the athletic trainer from my high school on, what to do moving forward. And yeah, I just decided, you know what, like this is an opportunity for me to get ahead. If I can graduate early, I can start worrying about, or I can start focusing on getting into programs after school, and maybe enter the workforce a year ahead of everyone else, who had been accepted the year that I applied. So what that, the point of that story is that I think it's okay to feel bad after failing. Sorry, motorcycle just drove by. It's okay to have negative thoughts and negative feelings, but if you're going to dwell on them, rather than trying to look at the bright side or trying to, figure out the plan of action following that failure, you're going to end up stuck, and you're never going to end up moving forward. So, not to say that you should ignore your failures, but learn from them, right? Like, take that experience, figure out what you did wrong, how you can do better, and take the next step forward, right? Every little failure doesn't have to be the end of the world. It doesn't have to even be the end of that story, right? Now, a few years later, I've decided I no longer want to be an athletic trainer. I've decided that I want to pursue my doctorate in physical therapy, right? Which I was able to get those prerequisites done for those programs. I still graduated early. Like all of these things, that failure led me to a place where I feel I'm going to be happier than I would have otherwise. So that's my little story. And that's my point being that, if you are experiencing failure, or if you've recently experienced a failure and you just don't know what your next step is, well, that's it. The next step. Do something to help progress your story. Get ahead. Don't just sit and wallow over, your failures. Don't despair. It can always get better, and it will get better. On that note, I'll see you guys in the next one.